What's up internet, Kevin here with TLD. Now, as the vast majority of you are already aware, yesterday was Sony's press conference announcing the PS4. Now, one of the bigger surprises there was that they announced a large number of new games for the system. Not just entirely new original games for the PS4, but a lot of which were actually brand new IPs, not just new sequels to established franchises. Now, to start things off, Sony focused on PS4 titles that are sequels to established PS3 franchises, starting with a new Killzone game entitled Killzone Shadow Fall, which has undergone a massive facelift design-wise. Now, this title clearly takes place a great deal of time after the original trilogy, and is in a much more utopian, well-structured looking society, with the Helghast taking on more of a terrorist self-action rather than that of an opposing government. The overall tone shows a very massive shift towards a more colorful world, and is something that I think might get a bit more negative reception from fans of more traditional brown and bloom shooters, but is something that I think is a much better step forward for the series, and hoping to see a lot more originality from this new title. Now, another big Sony franchise to get a sequel is Infamous, with a new one entitled Infamous Second Son, which we only got a small teaser trailer for at the moment. Now, this title is also going for a reboot/time skip approach, with a new protagonist with different powers from Cole, in a setting that's much more dark and has a dystopian feel to it. The idea being is that Big Brother is watching everyone, and the one thing that can throw a big monkey wrench in their plans is someone with supernatural abilities beyond anything they've ever encountered before. It's a really interesting direction for the franchise, and one I'm actually really curious to see develop, but I'm gonna hold my breath for now until we see some actual gameplay for it. Now, one of the last titles that Sony announced was one of the ones that actually grabbed my attention the most, mainly because it comes from Jonathan Blow, the lead designer of one of my favorite indie titles, Braid. It looks to be a sort of puzzle exploration hybrid, being very reminiscent of one of my favorite old school PC titles, Myst, albeit making much more use of more surreal colors and design and a much more condensed world. This one may not be a PS4 exclusive permanently, but it's great to see Sony showing support for more indie games and not just big name dynasties that we've seen nothing but sequel after sequel of. Now, after focusing on a lot of first party titles, Sony then invited a number of third party companies to come up and talk about what they've got planned for the system. The first of which really surprised me was Capcom, which not only showed off a new engine designed for it called Pantaray, but even announced a brand new IP for the system called Deep Down. Now, what we saw for this game looked mostly pre-rendered and not actual gameplay, but it had at least a plan for what it'll look like once it's completed, and it appears to be a sort of dungeon delving / Monster Hunter style game. Very reminiscent of Dark Souls, but more focused on a small group of adventurers rather than just one player. Now, being a huge fan of dungeon delvers and tabletop games, saying that I'm excited for this title is a bit of an understatement, and it's definitely the one that I'm actually going to keep the closest eye on personally, and really want to see what they do in the long run with. Last but not least, Sony talked about two titles that we already know about, but didn't know were going to be on the PS4. Bungie was there to talk about their game Destiny, but didn't really add any new info compared to what we already found out last week. More importantly was Ubisoft there talking about their E3 2012 hit Watch Dogs, and offered us a brand new gameplay trailer to check out. Now, this new trailer showed us a few new little things. It showed us another sample of gameplay, same overall concept and feel of you walking around a town and trying to hunt down one particular suspect, but it showed you a lot more options in terms of what you can do and how the world interacts with you. Now, while this is a game that I am really excited for, and I'm really happy to see some of the new stuff we saw in the trailer, I'm a little curious as to why the game is going to be on the PS4, when we already have a release for the PS3, and from what we saw in that trailer, there really wasn't a whole lot of differences or new things, and the graphics we saw were something that is still easily achieved by the PS3 alone. Now, of course, since this game is being developed for both systems, it is entirely possible that what we saw was just some stuff they had prepared for the PS3 version, and we still have plenty of time until the game's release, so hopefully we'll see some more developments as we get closer to both it and the PS4's launch. Well, that's just my 2 cents about what games were announced yesterday. I know there were a lot more titles people were looking forward to or hoping to hear about, such as Last Guardian, but that's all we have for the time being. Let me know what you guys think in the comments about what we saw or what we didn't see, and what your thoughts are on new games announced for the system. If you have yet to do so, make sure to subscribe to our channel to stay up to date on all of our latest vids, including my thoughts on the PS4 features, as well as follow me on Twitter at TLD_Kevin for my up-to-date thoughts. If you like this vid, go ahead and hit that like button, as it is always appreciated and is the easiest way to help with the channel. As always guys, I'm Kevin for TLD, thanks for watching.